because it forces one to live. Good evening. We welcome you to this insightful talk session about uterine cancer with Ms. Prakshi Saraswat, who herself is a warrior and uterine cancer survivor.
A little something about Miss Prakshi. At 30, a day before her birthday, she was diagnosed with endometrial cancer. Today, through her page Bol Sakhi, she voices her experience and educates communities on gynecological cancer and women's health. She has also shared her journey on various national and international platforms and has been instrumental in normalizing conversations around cancer in young people. Through this talk session, we hope you get to learn more about this cancer from her experience and get inspired to never give up on life. Prakshi ma'am, the floor is yours now.
Thanks, Arna. Thanks, Meera. It's such an honor. Like to start with. It's an absolute honor for me to be among such young generation, talking about something which is very important. More than the knowledge around it, I think we'd be talking about a lot of courage that it takes to go through something like cancer, not just uterine, but any kind of cancer. I think it's a life-changing experience, and the proper word would be life-altering in all aspects, honestly. So specifically, yes, because I'm a uterine cancer survivor, I would like to talk about not just the symptoms, not just the my journey on how it was diagnosed. I would also like to throw light on the societal aspects related to it, and various other conditions that we need to actually kind of pay attention to. So thank you so much for having me, and I just begin with a little bit of you know uh, context on how it actually got diagnosed. So it was during 2020 when we were dealing with this pandemic, and we were just sitting at home, not very active lifestyles, trying to deal with various traumas, just generally trying to deal with the new kind of setting ourselves under the new normal. So I started having these really intense symptoms of anemia. And hemoglobin went down, and I was having these heavy periods, and bleeding between two cycles. There was spotting, and yes, so I was a little worried, and I had other plans in life. I was moving towards a very normal 30-year-old, trying to get married, trying to settle up in life. So all those plans were happening, and alongside these symptoms were happening, and pretty intense. मतलब काफी हो रहा था मुझे इशू हो रहा था and I would circle it back to in 2019 I was actually having heavy periods, but then I went into the cycle of exercising, eat healthy, walk a little, sitting jobs hain nahi aise ho jata hai. So I could link it back to that, probably it's just lack of physical activity, इसीलिए शायद साइकिल्स गड़बड़ हो रहे हैं, क्लॉट्स ऐसे ही आ जाते हैं, आई हैड नॉट अ क्लियर आइडिया कि क्लॉट्स क्यों आ रहे हैं. बस आई वाज जस्ट लाइक हार्मोनल इम्बैलेंस है. एवरीवन आई यूज्ड टू स्पीक टू यू वुड से दैट हेवी पीरियड्स बड़ी नॉर्मल चीज है, कोई बात नहीं, ठीक हो जाते हैं, रेगुलेट हो जाते हैं. Even to doctors, when you go, they say that you are 29, 30. They use the term you're in the childbearing age for some reason, and अभी हो जाता है ये, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. And then they give you this little favorite tablet called Trenexa. I would like to specifically say that anybody in India who's facing heavy periods would be given this particular beautiful tablet called Trenexa to subside your periods. So I was on it for about a year and a half, starting 2019, and from 2000 on up till 2020, I think I was on that tablet. Whenever I used to feel that heavy periods or just pop that in, within 5 days your periods subside. So that's what happening. But I think in 2020 September I had COVID, and yeah, I mean I'd say that thankfully I had COVID at that point, because something really intense was waiting for me in November. So like I said, in 2020 November, I was just planning my life ahead. I was looking forward to getting married. I mean, it's certainly something personal, but yes, that's how it actually got detected, because I had plans to kind of move to a new place to start my own life, and I thought that no, maybe this is the time ki ab check up kara lete hain. Finally that under say that. I think the first initiative, ki, no, there's something serious. I need to get myself treated before anything else happens in life. So, which is when, after recovering from COVID in November, I went in for, a usual gynecological checkup. And then they did an abdominal ultrasound. They told me that there is a, little 2 centimeter fibroid or a polyp that you have, and which is why you're having heavy periods. So, okay, I took it normally. I was like, fine. So I just asked them, what is the course of action for this? So they said that, these are pretty normal and everybody has it at some point in life. And we'll just kind of remove it through a simple, like 10-15 minute procedure, and you'll be all like, okay. So I was like, fine. मैंने भी मान लिया. And then they did that procedure. That little tumor, whatever I had, was sent for biopsy. And uske baad, yes, the reports that came out were absolutely shocking, numbing. The doctor, yes, the bravest thing I had to do was to, I went alone to pick up my diagnosis report, because on the call I was told that nothing is abnormal, everything is fine. So I went a little, pretty casual about it to pick that report up, because it was Diwali time. It was about, say, 13th November. 15th November is my birthday. So we were in like a celebratory mood, because okay, birthday, okay, Diwali, okay, other stuff in life coming up. So बहुत ही jolly सा mood था, बहुत ही everybody was in a different state of mind. So I took it casually. Phone pe bhi, that lab assistant बहुत casually, he told me that, there is nothing wrong with your report. आप आ जाना आराम से, just get to see the doctor. जब भी आप दवाई ले जाना. And I also went in like, okay, fine. So one fine day when my vacation started at office, so I took this, okay, we'll go to the doctor and we'll pick up our reports, take medicines, whatever she prescribes, and just come back home. So that's how, I was absolutely in a very dreamy world until that day happened. And I just very casually went in, and my father told me actually that, you should take me along. If there is something, then we'll figure it out. But me being me, I was like, okay, nahi papa, I'll go alone, मैं ले आऊंगी, कोई बात नहीं. So okay, I went in. I very clearly remember that I went to the lab, whatever the lab place was. I took that report, and being a science student and generally somebody who understands what does carcinoma mean, and I could read that report, and oh my God, it was written adenocarcinoma of endometrium. Given that it was a pretty technical medical term, but I understood what endometrium was, I understood carcinoma, and uh, to my shock, obviously, it was not a very detailed report. It was just like a 2 or 3 line report, because it was I belong to a place called Kota, so it's pretty it's like a small place. So it wasn't a very detailed report then. So I was just like kind of shaking, and I just asked that person, "Bhaiya, from where does it look like a normal report to you?" Um, ये क्या बोल रहे थे आप? Because he was I don't know, maybe he was ignorant, but given that he is actually handling a lab, he should have been a little more, I think, aware of how he is conveying things to the patient, which in this case it's me, right? So yeah, that happened. And the hospital, the doctor, the treating doctor was at a different place. And yeah, I took that report. I somehow managed, gathered the courage to just drive to the doctor's place. Yeah, it was something. I think it has to be the most difficult thing I did, that day of my entire life, because 100 questions running in the span of 10 minutes. It was something that really took some courage. And I went there. I met the doctor. There were other patients also, and I'll be very frank. Sorry, I'm putting out a very raw account of my experience, but I think it is important to understand the stages of what a person goes through. So yes, I went into the doctor, and yeah, I mean, she was shocked. First of all, she looked at me in utter shock. She was like, "What's your age?" Her first question was, "What's your age?" And I'm like, "Ma'am, I'm 29, and I'm turning 30 in another 2 days. What is it? What is this report saying?" Then she's like, it is not, it is quite not likely for you, somebody of your age, to have this cancer. It's postmenopausal cancer. It happens in old women. And I'm like, "Ma'am, but the report says this." So by that time, she was also at loss of words. She was also like, "अब मैं क्या बोलूं इस बच्ची को?" She's treating hundred different people sitting in that room, and I was inconsolable. Then she very quietly asked me, कि, "Is somebody, accompanying you at this point?" मैंने कहा, "नहीं मैम, मैं अकेले आ गई." Then she looked at me like, even more, like she was shocked. कि, what do I say to her? Then my father was called, and when that call went from the hospital to my father, he understood that, okay, there is something that we need to be worried about. Otherwise, she would have managed on her own and be back home. So, yeah, my father came in another, like, came running from the office another 15-20 minutes later. The doctor sat me down in a separate section of the hospital. I mean, because I was already getting like overwhelmed with, okay, what are they saying? This is unreal. And yes, so my father came. My doctor just very subtly looked at my father with a sense of, I'd say, she was feeling sorry for me, and she was obviously like not believing what she just saw on that report. So she was trying to like kind of convince us that it could be wrong, the biopsy could be wrong, it could probably be a little गलत आ जाता है कई बार, pathologist से भी गलती हो जाती है, we'll get it checked again. So that's what her course of consoling us was. And obviously, initial reaction, oh my god, now your life is, I personally thought that okay, it would be the end of me. Initial thoughts यही होते हैं, because whenever you hear of something like cancer, I mean, सब ये सोचते हैं कि okay, now we're going to die. This is a very natural reaction. And it was, of course, how much so ever bold and positive I look, but it just like, okay, rest everything, okay, your shadi or Gina Marna, all of that. I mean, it just came down to, oh my god, what's happening in my body? Like, I don't know. And I just gave my dad a little like tight hug, and I'm just like, okay, let's just figure this out. Let's just let's not assume, let's not get into any kind of survival mode yet, but just let's try to fix this. So then we were directed to the closest center was Jaipur at that point, where the PET scans were available. So we rushed to Jaipur. There's a place called Mahavir Cancer Institute. So we ran there, we ran to that place, we got the PET scans. And to my, thoda sa, I would say that thoda sa, where the thing that I actually, I'm just forgetting the word for it, but what made me, that PET scan revealed that my cancer was actually kind of confined to the uterus. So with this, which was a good thing and a bad thing. I mean, considering that, okay, at some point you would want to have children, and then they're saying that, okay, there is cancer there. So the PET scan revealed that I had stage 1 cancer. So the tumor that I had was already removed during the investigation part. So on the PET scans, they could clearly not see anything. They were like, you're practically, it doesn't look like you have cancer. But all other pelvic examinations, all of that figured that I did have like a little bit of left in the myometrium. So if there are 3 stages of, 3 sections of the uterus. One is your endometrium, there is a myometrium, and there is a serosa. So in my case, there was myometrium invasion that was showing on that PET scan. So yeah, I mean, a lot of back and forth happened. This doctor, that doctor, we do this, we do that. So all that, I'd say, all that period, I think I was the calmest in my entire life. Calmest in the sense because I had to figure out, first of all, nobody understood what's happening to me. People were fixated on the idea that I'd lose my fertility then. while I was fixated on the idea that, dude, I want to live, like, I want to survive. Rest all is secondary. I mean, I think that thought helped me a lot personally, because initially, my family, obviously, I mean, my family didn't take it well. And in the sense that, obviously they were in a shock that अच्छी खासी खेलती हुई लड़की, I mean, what's happening to her, and she's losing all the prospects of a normal societal, 1 2 3 जो हमारा checklist होता है life का, and suddenly she's like out of that syllabus. She's onto a different life. So वो था, but when we went to certain doctors, we went to a lot of doctors in Delhi. I went to online consultations because of COVID, of course, and a lot of people stepped in. A lot of my friends, their siblings who are radiologists in London, etc., etc. A lot of people came together. Thankfully, I have like a beautiful network, so people stepped up to help me to actually figure out the course of action, because it was very confusing. I had no context. मुझे कभी मैंने सुना भी नहीं था, to be very honest. If you tell me ki the gynecological cancers I was aware of was only ovarian, because it's deadly, so to say. And secondly, cervical, because there is a vaccine available. So whenever you go to a gynecologist, वहाँ पे उन्होंने एक poster लगाया होता है that you can get vaccinated. So these two were, I was like absolutely sure of that I'm aware of it, but endometrial cancer I had honestly not heard of. और अगर मतलब कोई डिस्कस भी नहीं करता है, so no idea at all. So this was absolutely new to me. There was no reference point. So you were given just like 4 weeks to process everything. So it was like a very that time actually required me to be very patient with myself, and honestly, just to figure out the right information. It was a definite challenge, because even the doctors, whoever I went to, they like first question was, "आप कितने साल के हो?" I'm like 29 sir, अब 30 हो गया 15 को, but yeah, that's what it is. कि ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. Most of the doctors, even I went to lot of, like, I went to Manipal, I went to Kokilabane, I went to Apollo, I went everywhere so that I get the right opinion. Everybody, to everybody I used to show the report, they were like, "Aapki age kya hai?" Because the deciding factor suddenly became my age. Ki aisa to ho hi nahi sakta. But I was like, "Sir, this is what the reports are, and you have to believe me. I mean, I'm not lying. You are the doctor, I'm not." तो थोड़ा सा एक कहते हैं ना सडन शॉक आ जाता था उनके पे कि डू यू हैव किड्स? आई एम लाइक, नो सर. Are you married? No, sir. So these were the questions. Along with my cancer diagnosis, I was just dealing with a lot of these questions also. कि अब some of the doctors, I mean, I don't know, they were just meaning well, but they were like, अरे अब कैसे manage करोगे? I'm like, मुझे नहीं पता sir. You first treat me, then I'll decide क्या करना है. So all of that happened. And in this back and forth, suddenly I actually, through a very simple Google search, I got my hands onto information regarding Dr. Archit Pandit from Max Shalimar Bagh. So he's an onco surgeon. So somewhere I'd be very biased to say this, but when I saw him, I felt like a sense of relief, because he was pretty young, and I thought that probably he would understand. And obviously he had great reviews over Google, and so I mean, I'm a brand person, so somewhere I believe those those reviews are nice. Then I also got references about him from few of my friends who were researching about my condition. They were consulting others in their network. So they said that Dr. Pandit is established, very well established in the field, and he'd be able to do a good job of it. So yes, until then, the discussion between the certain doctors around the world was happening, that whether they can do something about preserving the uterus for some time through hormones. There is a certain line of treatment where you can take some hormones for some time, and then later, I mean, of course, you have to undergo the surgery, which is the hysterectomy. So that took about like 3 weeks of my life to finally understand and absorb that, okay, that could be this could be preserved for some time until I'm able to conceive, and that. And so this was happening all this time. Then again, they started the beautiful conversation of, okay, Now how do we make sure that you have genetic kids, because obviously, like for me, I wanted to have kids all the time in the world. I mean, everybody dreams of those, like I said, checklist 1, 2, 3: job, shadi, bache, ghar, parivar, so all of that. So that was on my list, but suddenly the doctors, I had like intense conversations over video online consultation. They were like, are you okay? There are other ways to be a mother. I'm like, doctor, I'm fine. Mentally I am strong. You just tell me that get the cancer out of my body, because I just can't. The thought of constantly having something creeping in your body, I mean, I just don't want that. So they suggested, before doing any procedure, basically, so they suggested me doing an IVF cycle to preserve my eggs. So in future, if I look at having some genetic kids, though I'm not really fixated on having them, but just for the sake of my family, just for the sake of, so that I don't overthink about that aspect of my life, I just did that. So that happened. That was again a very painful procedure to go through. And then I realized that, so many females around the world, just because they're unable to conceive naturally, they have to undergo this hormone, injecting hormones in your body day in, day out. And those 10 days were like really miserable. And while I was like lamenting over my condition, I was suddenly also, constantly thinking that, oh my God, like what are we being subjected to as females, right? I mean, it gets to you, like, what's your worth about? What how much is your worth? What I mean, just because your ultimate goal in life becomes producing babies. So that, a lot of thoughts running in my mind at that point. And somehow I had to be like a little strong for everybody, and for myself, because it was like a major decision to be made. And when you have a short window of 10 days to say yes to the surgery, it was something, like, it was, I thought that I would not be able to make that decision, but I finally could, because yeah, that's how it happened. And I met Dr. Archit. He ran some more tests. There's something called an estrogen receptor, progesterone receptor test. So basically, if it's very high, it means that your body is extremely reactive to the hormones in your body. So he did that test. He sent my reports to the American Tumor Board somewhere, and finally, it was basically deducted that I need a surgery. I mean, there is no two doubts about it that I have to undergo this. So okay, with Braveheart again. Okay, we went to Max Delhi. It was in Shalimar Bagh, and again, he just sat me down. उन्होंने पूरा लिख कर मुझे बताया कि देखो ऐसे ऐसे होगा. This will be the procedure, and if you say no to this procedure, I have no legal right to, like medical fraternity वाले language में उन्होंने मुझे समझाया कि your uterus has to be removed, which is called a hysterectomy. Your fallopian tubes will have to be removed as per the standard procedure in this kind of case, and your ovaries will have to be removed. So I was, and like I said, आजकल हम Google की generation में हैं, तो सब कुछ खुद ही doctor बन जाते हैं, and the doctors absolutely hate it, when the patient is coming with अपना treatment खुद. So that was happening with me. I mean, the mind was racing, and I'm like, भैया क्या बोल रहे हैं ये कि ovaries निकाल देना है, ये निकाल देना है, वो निकाल देना है, उसके potential side effects सब कुछ मैं पढ़ के चली गई थी. And the doctor was like, भाई, let me first of all do my thing, then I will tell you how to manage this. So because my ER/PR, like I said, estrogen progesterone receptor tests were extremely high. They were like above 90%. So they had to finally make that decision to remove the ovaries as well. So my father had to like sign a consent form that, okay, everything is going because we have to save her life. So that's what it happened. In usual cases, actually, they do not kind of remove the ovaries, because the ovaries have usual in the sense that if some females later in life, they also have hysterectomies, but their ovaries are left, intact, because ovaries are, it's not just for, like, so that we can see we produce eggs and all. They also have a protective effect on your heart, protective effect on your bones. So doctors usually do not remove them until like they absolutely have to, because of other conditions as well. But in my case, there was a long debate about, one ovary, just leave it. Let's not touch the ovaries. But my doctor went in all radical, and he was like, no, I don't want to take any chances with her case. She's very young, she's very bright, and I just want to have her like a very, I mean, those are his words, I'm just not like praising myself. So he was like, I will go like absolutely, I'll treat it as I'll go all in and make sure that she is fine. So a radical hysterectomy was done in my case. Basically means all your uterus, everything, all your reproductive organs gone. And they also took out 22 lymph nodes just to check whether there is no spread, pelvic washings, stuff like that. A little too technical, but yes. So he made sure that everything, whatever he could see in the surgery, he could take it out. Thankfully, there was so after your surgery, there is a very detailed report, that takes about a month to come. So it basically actually tells you your real stage. It's not the PET scan stage, but your real, which is actually figured only after the surgery. So it's called a histopathology report. तो वो 1 महीने बाद आती है. And सर्जरी से लेके उस रिपोर्ट तक का that weight was also like wow. I'm just like भाई बहुत हिम्मत चाहिए every day, because आप कितना भी positive रह लो, that thing is somewhere crawling in your head. तो ठीक है, चल रहा है भाई, हम एक एक दिन कट रहा है. All this while I would say that I had extreme support from my family, of course. I mean, they are there for you, but my friend circle, my network, everybody was so active, so proactive, I would say. I was staying at one of my friends' place after my surgery because I had to stay in Delhi, and my mother couldn't travel because of COVID, and I was staying at her place. Her mom took care of me. I say that out loud everywhere that I can. So they took care of me after the surgery. Recovery was pretty okay, but you have these constipation issues because of the anesthesia and stuff like that. So, but 10-15 din mein, your body feels normal. So I had a laparoscopic surgery. So usme chote tears, those incisions when it's done. I'm sure you must have heard of it. So recovery was pretty okay. I was doing okay. And yes, that report came after a month. And to my delight, I would say, with a very happy face, it turned out to be stage 1 and confined about like 27% in the myometrium. That said that I was stage 1A, and that was the only treatment that I required at that point. So big sigh of relief, honestly. And काफी खुशी हुई थी, मतलब बाकी चीजें लाइफ में थोड़ा it was just going all haywire, but just knowing that that menace is out of your body, I mean, it was a huge sigh of relief. And बस फिर उसके बाद I think yes, of course there were some side effects of the surgery. Since your uterus is gone, your ovaries are gone, you're hit into surgical menopause. So it means that, of course, there is no reproductive system in your body. So yeah, you don't have periods anymore. You're thrown into like usual menopausal pure symptoms. You have these hot flashes. Estrogen levels like drastically drop in your body. And तो वो सब मुझे start हो गया था like after 2 months. I think 2 months के बाद I could actually feel कि okay, no, this is happening. I would just sweat sometimes during the day. Major hair fall and थोड़े से mood swings, I think, because of multiple factors, I think. तो ये सब हो रहा था, थोड़ा सा joint aches here and there, but I was told that ये stabilize हो जाएगा. So yes, I can today sit and say that yes, it has stabilized, though I think it has I'll have to take care of it for the rest of my life, but ये stabilize हो गया and I'm thankfully in a better place today. So yeah, this is about it. My surgical menopause say I would like to hop on to the aspect of menopause. I mean, हमारे life में mothers के साथ अपने grannies या whoever in our surrounding network, हमें पता ही नहीं है कि उनको कब menopause आया और कब चला गया. There is a shame, not shame. It's just like people are shy. People are very कि क्यों बोलना है हमें इसके बारे में, ये तो कुछ शुश शुश करके बस निकल गया उनका, हमें पता ही नहीं चला. मतलब हाउ मेनी ऑफ अस कैन रेज आवर हैंड्स टुडे एंड से कि हमें पता चला कि कब हमारे पेरेंट्स, मतलब मदर्स को या हमारे सराउंडिंग नेटवर्क में किसी को मेनोपॉज आया. मतलब कोई बोलना ही नहीं चाहता, उनके पास कुछ ट्रीटमेंट ही नहीं है, कुछ पता ही नहीं है, उनको बस लगता है कि ये तो नेचुरल है, भगवान का दिया हुआ, ये तो सब रचना है, things like that. People use these very amazing, अरे ये तो होना ही है जीवन में. So stuff like that. I think menopause is something that needs to be spoken about more so in the young patients, I think, because it has a potential effect on your bones and heart. तो वो menopause management का कोई इतना talk नहीं है, after a cancer patient goes through all of this, especially at an age like mine. And I would hate to say it, but बहुत young लड़कियों में तो ये बहुत पहले हो रहा है. I'm still standing at a 31, right? People are facing this at 19, 20. Unfortunately, I've met so many people who've lost their ovaries at 15. So, 15, 20, 23, 25. Ovarian cancer, late stage ovarian cancer, क्योंकि potentially उसका कुछ, symptom नहीं होता है. I was thankful कि I was having, symptoms, so I could go to the doctor. उन cases में तो नहीं होता. So there is not enough and more talk about, menopause management. Till now, I don't have any counseling, It's just because I'm reading stuff, I am connected to certain people who've gone through this. So they can just, बहन चारे में उन्होंने मुझे बता दिया, if I can use that word. So that's about it. मतलब कोई कुछ पता ही नहीं है. People are so hesitant. Somebody very funnily, I'm sure they meant well, but they came to me and said that because I was a tomboy when I was 15 or 16, and I didn't have enough female hormones, and which is why it caused cancer to me. So amazing stuff. मतलब people are just cancers छोड़ो, मतलब उनको general body का नहीं पता है कि how do periods happen, how does menopause happen, किस प्रकार के cancer तो बहुत दूर की बात है कि endometriosis क्या होता है, PCOS क्या होता है. People are just not aware. They're in a different world. Somebody told me, I'll be very, crass over here, but somebody told me that you've lost your Stri Dhan. And I'm just like, oh no, I am the Dhan. I mean, I'm Stri and I'm the Dhan. What are you saying? So stuff like that, interesting stuff has happened since then. And I have come across, these amazing ideas people have, which is why I thought that, I should start something. And I should speak about it, in whatever capacity I can, because people just don't know, including my age. ठीक है, हमसे जो बड़ी जनरेशन है वो हमसे छोटे, तो बोलने की जरूरत है. यहाँ पे लोगों को इनकरेज ही नहीं किया जाता, बिकॉज इट्स, आपने यूट्रस की बात कर दी, ओ माय गॉड कितनी शर्म की बात है. एवरीबडी नोज कि बेबीज आर कमिंग फ्रॉम द यूट्रस, बट नहीं, ओ माय गॉड, ये थोड़ी बोला जाता है, ऐसे कैसे बोलोगे, चुप रहो, शुश. ये बहुत ही आई डोंट नो, एवरी हाउसहोल्ड नहीं होता ऐसे, वेयर आई एम एबल टू स्पीक टू यू अबाउट इट, बट मुझे नहीं लगता कि 99% of the households in India can actually encourage their girls to speak about it, especially unmarried girls. I'll come to that point later. I mean, you go to the doctor, nobody would, if you say कि आपके, जैसे मेरे साथ आज तक होता है, if I go for some test or some blood test or some scan that I had to do, आपके हस्बैंड किधर हैं? I'm just, नहीं है हस्बैंड, पापा हैं, बात कर लीजिए, तो it doesn't stop at the treatment, it just transverses into your everyday life. आप किस चीज को इग्नोर करोगे? Some people say, अरे cancer is gone now, people tell me all this time कि अब तो तुम बस सही हो गए. I understand मैं सही हो गई, but ये छोटी छोटी जो societal चीजें हैं, it triggers, छोटे छोटे ट्रिगर होते हैं. आप गए वहां पे, आपके हस्बैंड की तरह नहीं है, like I said, अरे, and he's a medical professional, whoever this XYZ person is, he's a medical professional, right? He has to maintain a certain, he has to be in a certain professional mode. He has to maintain some boundaries, while talking to a patient. It'd be like, one thing I noticed, you guys, when you put that, post out, you wrote Miss Prakshi Saraswat, but you won't believe the number of times I have been to the hospitals and they've always put a Mrs. on my name. It triggers. I mean, just try and think about it. Why do I have to be a Mrs. to have cancer of the uterus? Why do I have to be a Mrs. to get myself checked for any pelvic examinations, right? Like young लोगों को नहीं होता है. आप किसी भी हॉस्पिटल में जाओगे तो वो पहले आपसे ये पूछेंगे, आपकी शादी हो गई, आपके बच्चे हो गए? नहीं, हम नहीं कर सकते टेस्ट, यू नो. You'll have to push for your own health. You'll have to push कि नहीं भैया प्लीज हमें चेक कर दीजिए, हमें कुछ सिम्टम्स हो रहे हैं कि. तो दैट इज द थिंग, छोटा छोटा ट्रिगर, यू नो, एंड यू कांट रियली गेट ओवर दोज. कैसे हो भाई, कैसे कैसे हम मतलब बोल दें कि हाँ भाई, इट जस्ट what if I had not pushed कि नहीं डॉक्टर प्लीज चेक मी. I'm absolutely, मेरा 7 हीमोग्लोबिन हो रहा है, I'm bleeding for days, I'm just not able to focus, I'm fainting while I'm working. Something is wrong with me, right? But the fact that I had to push myself so much is where I'm coming from. Like, why do we have to push so much to get ourselves checked? What is the shame? And I'll be very frank that I also had this initial, resistance from my surroundings. That कुछ नहीं है, ऐसा हो जाता है, like I said earlier, हो जाता है, कोई बात नहीं, तुम ओवर रिएक्ट कर रहे हो. तो मैंने कहा ओवर रिएक्ट कर रहे हैं, like that term is there, ओवर रिएक्ट करना जरूरी है. So ओवर रिएक्ट नहीं करेंगे तो अपनी जान नहीं बचा पाएंगे, is what I'm trying to say. If you keep listening to your people who have no idea about what you are going through, I'm sorry to say, इस ऐसे cases में you are your only advocate, you only know your bodies, and you only can speak for your own self, and you only can push, which is very important. That brings me to another point, कि doctors, if somebody is a doctor here and listening to me, or later if some doctor is watching this, please अगर कोई young बच्चा आपके पास आ रहा है तो just don't take them lightly. Don't make them pop hormonal pills to control their PCOS. Don't make them pop Tranexas to subside their bleeding. Don't just tell them that they have to wait to get married, or have like a certain XYZ bachas to have pelvic examinations. This is absolutely bonkers, and this is, sorry to say, this is absolutely heartbreaking at such a level. I mean, why would you do this do it to somebody? क्योंकि वो कहीं ना कहीं एक societal context है that नहीं है. मतलब I think married women में भी कितने लोग जाते हैं pelvic examinations के लिए, उनको भी झेल. मतलब अब मुझे कोई एग्जाम्पल देता है कि पहले के जमाने में तो सब ऐसे ही हो जाता था, इसीलिए हो जाता था क्योंकि कोई अवेयरनेस नहीं होती थी, कोई बोलता नहीं था. पर आज we are sitting in 2021. We have enough and more resources to educate ourselves. Like I've also changed over the few months. मेरी नॉलेज जो आज है वो शायद 5 साल पहले या 10 साल पहले भी नहीं थी. मतलब where you guys are sitting today, it makes me wonder that people are aware. I hope I was aware, and I had not missed my symptoms for maybe 1.5 years. So things like that. I think people really need to normalize this conversation, even in a normal household. Tell your guys, tell your girls to normally talk about periods, right? Itna kya sharam hai, matlab. We have Instagram, we have social media, we have everything, and just basic human requirement hai, people should know about their bodies. So not just cancer, I think PCOS, for example, it's like a menace. Like I said, my doctor told me 90% of the girls in today's day and age, they are being treated for PCOS. So in my case, they tried to find out the reason कि भाई इनको क्यों हो गया ये cancer, They sat me down for hours कि अपने 3 generation पहले के बारे में बताइए, अपने 2 generation. मैंने कहा मुझे तो पहली बात नहीं पता कि मेरे उस generation में कौन था. Second of all, nobody in my family had cancer. So I also, it didn't occur to me कि something like this could happen to me. And unfortunately, in our country, we don't have these yearly scans, which, for example, a UK and a US would have. तो हमारे यहाँ पे कोई टेस्ट कराने जाता है, like it's a joke, right? कि अगर हमारे यहाँ कोई टेस्ट कराने जाता है और वो सही आ जाता है तो people say कि अरे पैसे वेस्ट हो गए, they have that mindset. So first of all, there are no healthcare में ऐसा कुछ provision नहीं है that we get tested yearly. Plus, I think people are just generally ignorant and in denial, more to say. So things like that. I think with examples like me, I just want to set that context. कि भाई young, I mean, if I call myself a 30, 31 young, yes, हो रहा है. मतलब, it's maybe environmental factors, or you call like खाने पीने में, whatever is coming through our food line, I mean, food chain. We don't know what we are eating. Are we eating synthetic materials? Are we eating genetically modified, stuff? Your milk, for example, is hormone injected. You don't know. But when such a thing happens, suddenly it becomes your fault, right? If you lose your uterus to save your life, it becomes your fault, right? I'm talking about the society, quote unquote. It's suddenly you who has to, deal with this. That's it happened to me. I lost my relationship. I lost every sense of normalcy that I had in life, so to say. I'm trying to regain it. I'm trying to bring it back to the normal. But yes, it suddenly just became me single-handedly, trying to say, hey, but I'm human, right? Hey, I lost my uterus, but hey, I'm human, right? So that thought, you're suddenly on your own, because now you don't fit into the idea of a perfect Indian female. You are not happening enough. Your education, your education, your mindset, आपका general जो बाकी talents हैं, they just don't matter because you've lost your uterus. Oh my God. So that's something, that's a very poignant comment on the society, that, I'm somebody's daughter, I don't know, I don't want to be acerbic about the situation, but what I'm trying to highlight is that I'm somebody's daughter. Imagine, I would not want it to happen to anybody, but I want to highlight that this could be anybody. Just because you have, the capacity to point fingers, to label somebody for a condition that they are not in control of, you know. If I give everything in the world and get back, my ability to conceive, I would do that, right? But am I letting whatever has happened define me? I'm not. I'm so much more than that, right? And maybe I have a voice. Not many have that, which is why I'm constantly trying to speak as at many platforms as I can. So, there is some sense of understanding, there is some empathy, there is some normalcy in accepting these situations. People are just not ready. It's not cancer. It's just not cancer. People are not ready for IVF cycles. People are not ready to accept that PCOS is something. PCOS के लिए बोल देते हैं कि अरे आप खाना पीना अच्छा, which is okay. I understand. खाना पीना अच्छा खाओ, exercise करो, ये वो. But it's like an endemic. मतलब किसी के control में नहीं है, is what I'm trying to say. If God forbid, for some reason, somebody is not able to conceive in the future, what do? Like, you leave that person alone to fight it out, or you define them by the ability to have children or not. Some people don't have children by choice. Understandable, right? So people need to be okay in all situations. Not everything is under control. So since like a lot of millennials are here, I would like to highlight one particular narrative that has been going on. Everybody watches Friends, right? So we see how Rachel says no uterus, no opinion. And here I'm trying to address not only the females, no, but also the LGBTQ community and also the males. Is that, does that statement hold true? It did not hold true even then. It does not hold even, true even today. Yes, we don't have a uterus, but I do have opinions. I do have a voice, right? I do understand that it was taken in a positive, they wanted to just say that, males do not understand the pains that we go through. But it's actually kind of excluding a lot of communities. It's not setting in the right example. It's not, I mean, it's actually changing the entire understanding of, what a person goes through. No, your uterus does not define you, dear friend. You still are as human. You are still as much a woman without one. Doesn't change anything. Hysterectomies happen all the time. So it's high time that our society, just stops labeling us from that area. Stop blaming females for not producing enough number of children as if like we have a scant number. It's not. So, and it takes like a lot of courage. It takes a lot of support. It takes a lot of belief to be actually able to come out and say these things. And my environment has been absolutely incredible. My parents have not once. People tell me ki aapne to bahut jaldi you came out with your condition. I'm like, if I'll be very honest, if I hadn't shared this, it would have eaten me up. That's the best I can say. Second of all, I would not want anyone of my age, elder, younger, whoever, older, to go through this. It's extremely excruciating. And even if once your treatment is done, there are side effects, like I said, surgical menopause is happening, post-traumatic, stress disorder. You can't take things out of a person's head, but there is a way ahead. What personally helped me was I was very open to asking for help. That's the only thing I can say to anybody who wants to, educate people. Asking for help is the best thing that you can do. Like, really. I made sure that this is because a mammoth I had to, take care of. And I knew from day one that I would not be able to do it all alone. It will take an army, and it did take an army. It's because, even there's a lot of psychological stuff, because you're losing on your fertility, you're losing on your health in some ways, you're losing on your sexuality. Lot of stuff is there, which is unfortunately not addressed in our country. So thankfully, I've been able to meet some really inspiring women from across. One good thing that has happened out of this experience is that now I'm in touch with almost, like, I'd say 15, 20 amazing females from around the world who've not actually guided me, but also, like, I can call them my friends at that point. So there's this person called Dafina. She runs a Check Me Up UK page. So basically, she is also a cancer survivor. She had leiomyosarcoma, which is again a uterine cancer. But yes, she advocates for yearly checkups, and she's been an incredible support, like, personally. So she would question all my, she should answer all my questions, and she listened to me very patiently. Something probably मैं अपने India में भी नहीं comfortable थी उन questions के साथ, so I'd go to her and कि यार ऐसा ऐसा होता था क्या, and she's like कि अरे things will settle down, सब सही हो जाएगा. So Check Me Up is one page. The Womb Tank Clan on Instagram is another page. मतलब अगर when you have time, you can scroll through those pages. Very informative. मतलब आप भी अच्छा काम कर रहे हो, but वो pages भी is like, those were my first point of references. So that, plus when my surgery was due, I was actually trying to look at some Indian context to this situation. I was trying to look out for resources, pages. Absolutely none. Absolutely none. There were no support groups. There was doctors are hesitant to, like, explain too much, and generally koi reference point nahi tha. They told me that only 1% of people in the entire world would have it, below the age of 40, and I hated to be that statistic, but yes. So that was it. They tell that it's postmenopausal, which is not true. Even now, PCOS is a condition. In my case, they deducted that PCOS is a condition that can actually increase your risk of endometrial cancer. Why? Because in polycystic ovaries, your estrogen levels go, like, high in the body. So it is a hyperestrogenic environment in your body, and which that excess estrogen actually causes your uterus lining to thicken. So what we all have to be cognizant of, that your uterus lining does not get really thick. It has to be about, say, 8 to 9 mm before your periods. Anything more than that, anything more than 10 in your ultrasounds is a red flag, guys. Please insist on a checkup. So they said that polycystic ovary was the case, but unfortunately I didn't have any PCOS symptoms, so I didn't know what was going on. But only after the surgery could they detect that I had endometriosis is also, one ovary had endometriosis, and I had some early PCOS, and which is why they said that it's not genetic. it's only because of PCOS that I got this. So please be aware, PCOS is like a plague these days, and we have to be absolutely sure that your uterus lining does not go above 10. Anything beyond it, I studied and then I realized that okay, mine was at when I was diagnosed, mine was at 17.9 mm. So yeah, the doctor was like, "Arey, jaldi jaldi check up karo." I'm like, "Pehle bata dete." So, but nobody knew better, honestly. I mean, I don't blame anyone, but I was personally not very aware. But now that I am, I mean, I just try to bring these facts in whatever discussion I meet my friends or wherever in a social setting I am. I do try to, like, at least briefly just inform people ki don't sit at home, just don't brush it off as normal. A lot of females have reached out to me on Instagram and on my personal message that they've actually went out and got checked because after hearing my story. So thankfully nothing wrong happened with them, but then at least they did that effort to very proactively go and get themselves checked. So I think it makes everything worthwhile. And yeah, I mean, I'd just like to say, I know I'm just like getting into too much details, but what I can say is that, firstly, to all families who are watching this, some from my are also watching, so all families, please, अगर आपकी बच्चियां बोलना चाह रही हैं, बता रही हैं कि कुछ इशू है, अगर वो कह रही हैं कि पीरियड्स में इशू आ रहा है या फिर ज्यादा ब्लीडिंग हो रही है, 2-2 महीने तक पीरियड्स आ रहे हैं, प्लीज उसको लाइटली मत लीजिए। प्लीज सुनिए उनकी बात। जस्ट बिकॉज वो यूट्रस से रिलेटेड है और उनकी फर्टिलिटी से रिलेटेड है, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि दे डोंट डिजर्व अ प्रॉपर चेकअप। आई अगेन एंड अगेन से दिस, क्योंकि हमारे यहाँ पे बहुत मुश्किल है लोगों को उस चीज के लिए रेडी करना। मतलब इट्स नॉट एन ईजी जॉब, एंड हम कितना भी अपने आप को एजुकेटेड, फॉरवर्ड थिंकिंग बोल दें, but when it comes to the talk of gynecological issues, I think we are still somewhere back in the 1800s. So वो एक context change होना बहुत जरूरी है। And even as girls, आप हमें आपस में बात करनी चाहिए कि what are the possible issues that we can be facing, and please don't brush off period pain by saying कि अरे ये तो होता है, प्लीज झेल लो, 2 दिन की बात है। Period pains, pelvic pains, persistent pelvic pains, excruciating, like your bones are just going off. इस तरह के पेन्स झेलना शायद हम नॉर्मलाइज कर लिया, एज फीमेल्स वी हैव नॉर्मलाइज्ड इट। आपस में भी हम एक दूसरे को बोल देते हैं। मेरे साथ भी हुआ था ऐसे, आई स्पोक टू वन ऑफ माय फ्रेंड्स एंड उसने बोला अरे यार होते रहते हैं। तो ऐसा ना करें। मतलब इफ योर फ्रेंड इज गोइंग थ्रू समथिंग, प्लीज उसको बोलेंगे यार तू दिखा के आए एक बार, दैट्स हाउ आई कैन पुट इट। क्योंकि कई बार वो नॉर्मल है, मतलब एक कैजुअल टोन में जब हम एक दूसरे से बात करते हैं तो वी जस्ट सिट ऑन आवर सिम्टम्स, वी जस्ट डोंट डू एनीथिंग अबाउट देम। फिर हमें लगता है अरे इसके साथ भी तो होता रहता है, तो मेरे साथ भी होता रहेगा, तो कोई बात नहीं, ये तो अपने आप ठीक हो जाएगा, विच इज नॉट द केस। तो वो नॉर्मलाइज ना करें। इफ यू आर इन एक्सक्रूशिएटिंग पेन, प्लीज बताएं, और अपने दोस्तों को भी बोलें, धक्का मार के भेजें कि नहीं भैया, यू हैव टू गो गेट योरसेल्फ चेक। आई थिंक दैट इज द ओनली वे। Sorry, I'm just losing that professional touch, but yes, I mean, since you give kids, right? I mean, you know how it goes. अगर मुझे किसी ने इतना पुश किया होता तो I would have actually gone earlier, you know. 1 साल पहले शायद वो डेवलप नहीं होता। I would have just been in the pre-cancerous or non-cancerous condition, क्योंकि thankfully I had a low grade cancer, but it still, I think it took doctor said it took some 1 year to grow. तो अगर मुझे वो 1 साल पहले पता होता, I would have done something about it, but I didn't. But okay, I mean, that was what has happened. We can't just undo all of it. But please, parents, I think your families will be the building blocks of your confidence. They'll be the building blocks of your voice that you have. अपने लिए खड़ा होना बहुत जरूरी है, पर उनका सपोर्ट भी बहुत जरूरी है। And yes, I mean, that's my story. And बस मैं ये बोलना चाहूंगी कि this group that I've just met, all these people, Udita was the one I was directly talking to, Girl Up Shisha, Girl Up Mukti, Girl Up Pathways, Girl Up Gargi, Girl Up Nidar. This entire group, I would like to say that these people are from 13 to 23 years of age, and it just gives me immense sense of pride that these people are so young and they're still so aware. I want to be in your group and your age again. But these people are so aware and they're already taking my aim, my idea, my passion forward and talking about gynecological health. They're distributing sanitary pads. They're just raising so much awareness, some nitty-gritties details about various kind of cancers, endometriosis, everything they're talking about. So it's already, it just feels that the aim that with which I started Bol Sake, these people are already at it. And that's the larger idea that we all should come together and make female health a priority, first of all. And secondly, of course, empowering our generation, other generation, this and that, here and there, our people, by actually speaking about these things. Indian society is really, really difficult that ways, I think. So you guys are doing an incredible job, and I still am absorbing that you guys are so young and doing such great things in life. And I wish you all the best. And I hope to stay in touch and do more of these inspirational, inspiring, quote unquote, sessions for others. You never know, who might need it. People say that, ये अरे होता रहता है मुझे भी ऐसा मिला है अरे अब आपका तो ठीक है सिचुएशन है बट कोई बात नहीं. मैंने कहा कोई बात नहीं है. Even if it's one person listening to me, I would go about it on and on and on. I mean, because मेरे साथ जो होना था, that has happened. But I don't want it to be somebody else's story. That's where I'm coming from. And I'd also just take a quick moment to thank my parents on Daughter's Day. First of all, happy Daughter's Day to all the parents out there, and a special happy Daughter's Day to my parents for being, the people that they are, for never letting my spirits die, for believing in me, and giving me this platform to just openly talk, like in a very, very raw format, talk about my experience. Because not many parents do that. मुझे भी बहुत बोला गया था कि अरे इसकी शादी कैसे होगी, ये and this and that. But my parents stood their ground and they said that she'd do what is necessary and she'd try to bring about some change, if not completely, but something, if at all it can help just one person, like I said. So thank you, mom and dad, if you're watching this. And it's been great, and I hope this session made some sense.
Ma'am, can I just give you a huge round of applause? I really wanted to.
Thank you. I'll clap for you. And you too. Thank you so much. Thank
It
you.
was so inspiring.
Thank you. Please keep up the good work.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, you have went like so beyond our expectations. Like you haven't just aware, you have inspired all of us to do bring about some more change. And that's why I would like to ask the participants if they would have any questions to ma'am, ask ma'am. We would like to make you feel included.
Any questions, guys? Happy to answer. I'm a very no filter person, so please don't hesitate. Thanks, Anukriti. Love you. Thank you.
I just like to add, I love your energy and I really love your vibe. I'm just, I'm really trying not to fangirl right now.
We'll be in touch. Don't worry. I'm taking inspiration from you guys, and then I have to be a little more active on my Bol Sakhi page. I tried to, but I was just getting back from the surgery, getting onto my work life, and hopefully that page will be more active now that I have you guys as my inspiration. Any questions, anyone?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us. However, we have sorted a bunch of questions for you.
Okay.
So, ma'am, what inspired you to start Bol Sakhi at the first place?
So, Lavanya, like I said, I didn't have any reference point, like I said, it was just too much information for me to absorb at one point. I had to rely on a lot of international, groups, and वो भी मुझे खुद ही, Google करना पड़ रहा था. You're dealing with a trauma, and then you're finding कि अरे who will solve this trauma. So that was there. So I knew that हमारी society कैसी है. मतलब मैं जितना I've grown up, I knew it. एंड कोई रेफरेंस पॉइंट नहीं था, कोई डॉक्टर मतलब सीरियसली तो क्या वो रिपोर्ट देखकर सीरियसली ले रहे थे, बट बिफोर दैट तो एक अल्टीमेट शॉक होता है कि आप इतने यंग हो, अरे आप गलत रिपोर्ट लेके आ गए हो, और थिंग्स लाइक दैट, यू नो. सो व्हेन यू डोंट हैव अ रेफरेंस पॉइंट, you don't have any very substantial conversations in your environment around this, and a general lack of knowledge, honestly. तो जब मुझे ये सब दिखा और मुझे वो खुद से डील करना पड़ा, यू नो, इन जस्ट लाइक 3 weeks आई हैड टू do all the research, you know, meet everybody, all the doctors. तो मुझे लगा यार this is not right, you know, this has to change. People at least need to be aware of what goes on with their bodies, and you know the potential ailments that can actually harm us, especially like cancer. मैंने तो सुना भी नहीं था यार, मतलब सुना था बट ठीक है, इतना सीरियसली नहीं लिया था कि अभी थोड़ी होगा, चलो बुढ़ापे में हो जाएगा, अगर होगा तो नहीं हो मतलब किसी को, बट दैट्स व्हाट माय थॉट वाज. मैंने तो कभी, उन्होंने तो बस वहाँ रिपोर्ट में देख के मुझे लगा कि ये तो नोबडी टॉक्स अबाउट दिस, नोबडी एजुकेट्स इट. स्कूल में तो छोड़ो, मतलब स्कूल में तो बेसिक सेक्स एजुकेशन पढ़ाने में लोगों को इशू होता है यहाँ पे, तो ये सब तो क्या बताएंगे वो कि कैंसर एंड ऑल ऑफ दिस. बट so I wanted to create a platform, honestly, and at least if not like the, you know, technical details of the procedures and all of that, at least some basic knowledge people have about it, and they don't ignore their symptoms. So I think that was the only inspiration, and I just wanted to set an example for unmarried females as well. I mean, nobody defines your worth. Just because you have a Mrs. attached to your name does not save you from cancer. You know, if at all it happens, and it does not define you. I've been constantly harping on that. So ठीक है, मतलब life तो है ही ना. You are so much more than a tag.
Yes, ma'am.
So, yeah, that.
Okay, so ma'am, how to stay positive at a time like this? Like, what were your coping mechanisms?
Okay, so that's a good one. Like I said, I had an army of people, you know. I had an army of people absolutely invested in my well-being. So I will not say कि मैं कुछ, you know, amazing warrior हूँ या फिर मैंने तो सभी कुछ कर लिया, you know. So ऐसा कुछ नहीं था. I literally have done something really good in life, that I have a very strong, you know, strong friendships, and not just with my friends, just with their families as well. So they're equally invested in my well-being. So her step pe I had people, you know, to guide me, to listen to me, and the fact that I'm sitting here after like 8 months and able to talk, it has taken a lot of work, honestly. Personally also, like I had to sit myself down and constantly, you know, focus on what is important and remind myself of the person I am, you know, before cancer, the person I was. So invested in people, you know, wanting to maintain relationships, having a general zeal in life. So I had to constantly sit down and remind myself that okay, this episode was one aspect of your life, and things have to move on from here. So it has taken few months. And so yes, I have this very interesting chotusa page on Instagram called Oi Rama Rama. So I started cooking. I'm fond of cooking. So yeah, how I engaged myself. Yeah, I just used to like possibly just, you know, vomit my emotions on one of my friends जो बहुत patiently मतलब सुनते थे कि चलो ठीक, she's ranting, because सुन लेते थे. People had that patience with me. Thank you जिसने भी मेरी बात सुनी. So that plus I kind of engaged myself in my hobbies, like general. I started cooking. I was at home, so खाना वाना बना के खिलाओ सुंदर सुंदर टेस्टी टेस्टी मम्मी पापा को. So that I'm fond of dancing. तो थोड़ा बहुत, you know, I got back after when I could after my surgery. तो थोड़ा बहुत dancing. Just being positive, I think, and I think my work front really kind of helped me, you know, there, because while they gave me that window of, you know, recovering and, you know, getting back to work at my own pace, but they were very encouraging in terms of, you know, कि आप भाई, you know, working is good for your mental health. Honestly, if you're busy, then it's good for you. So I actually kind of joined work after 3 months of surgery. I started partially, but then I just got into my usual track, and now I'm working full time, thankfully. So I think, yeah. But I think, you know, coping takes time, because it was not just the cancer, it was a lot of personal, I'd say, personal losses as well. I lost my relationship. I lost, like I said, my ability to conceive and all of that. So those were like additional my symptoms of surgical menopause. So a lot of things were happening all together. So it was really a lot of people, involved in this. So, but thankfully, yes, I'm here. I'm well. I'm doing okay. So thank you, everyone. Just keep yourself busy. I mean, as long as you remind yourself uh, of your belief system, of your own talents, of your mindsets, guys. Nobody can just put you down. I mean, not even cancer. Sorry, cancer. That's not happening.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
So, ma'am, now I'd like Srishti to take over.
Yeah.
Ma, I wanted to ask you, like you mentioned like many misogynistic factors, like doctors don't believe young women. So what, like how can we make the health sector like little more inclusive, and how can we deal with all these misogynistic factors so that the women feel inspired to come up, and they feel safe in this environment.
I think the starting point has to be the medical fraternity, honestly. It just can't be the patient, because he is herself dealing with their situation. The code of conduct has to be established by the medical fraternity somewhere. People should be actually trained to not say, they not cross boundaries and not just say anything they feel like, because they don't know what the other person is going through, or what is their quote unquote marital status is, right? I'm just like referring to my example. So there should be a code of conduct. There should be, people should be told to deal in a certain situation, or नहीं होता है mostly, especially लैब असिस्टेंट्स लेवल पे, या जैसे जो जिनसे हमें रेगुलरली अपनी रिपोर्ट्स के लिए डील करना पड़ता है, पीपल क्रॉस लाइंस, या मतलब दे रियली क्रॉस लाइंस, and they have unsolicited questions for you which is not even on your head, but then suddenly वो बोल देते हैं. So it's like it's in your head now. Oh my god, like आप कितना भी कोशिश कर लो, वो कहीं ना कहीं से घूम फिर के you're just back to square one कि okay, now we have to lament about the situation. Oh my god. तो ये होना चाहिए, मतलब थोड़ा फिल्टर लगाना चाहिए, मतलब इन वेरी यूजुअल टर्म्स आई वुड से दैट थोड़ा सा डॉक्टर्स को भी बिलीव करना चाहिए. इज लाइक आई बीन कॉन्स्टेंटली सेइंग कि इफ समबडी इज गोइंग विद अ ट्रबल, प्लीज उसको उसकी एज के बेसिस पे डिसमिस ना करें. एंड आई एम आल्सो कमिंग फ्रॉम अ पॉइंट, आई हैव एन एग्जांपल दैट वन ऑफ माय फैमिली फ्रेंड्स एक्चुअली went on. She's also like 28ish. So she went in for a checkup, but she was refused and she was told कि यार इसकी जल्दी शादी करो, you're getting me. So maybe she had some issue which could be treated, maybe a PCOS or whatever, but she was like generally told कि जाओ भाई पहले इसकी शादी करो, then we'll check her. तो अब ऐसे questions का क्या जवाब है, मतलब do we wait for 2 years, or do we go aggressive with our own treatments? क्या करें? अब ऐसे सवाल, अब किसी भी स्कैन के लिए जाओ तो भाई लाइक आई सेड, मैं बार बार उसी पे मतलब बता रही हूँ आपको कि ऐसे बहुत अनकंफर्टेबल होता है. दूसरा ये कर सकते हैं कि भाई देखो, आप आगे से जाके ना थोड़ा स्टर्नली उनको बोल दो कि प्लीज मेंटेन योर बाउंड्रीज. आई थिंक दैट्स द बेस्ट वे as a person who's as a patient who does not want these questions. I think it's on to us to set those boundaries if the other person is not understanding. और ये होता है, मतलब यू कांट, आप मोस्ट एजुकेटेड पीपल भी आपको जज कर लेंगे बिकॉज ऑफ दिस कंडीशन. बट थैंकफुली आई थिंक सिंस यू गाइज आर टॉकिंग अबाउट इट, थोड़ा थोड़ा चेंज आएगा. वी विल बी एबल टू गेट देयर एट सम पॉइंट वेयर दीज आर नॉट, ये कुछ छुपाने वाली बात नहीं होंगी, शुश करने वाली बात नहीं होंगी. पीपल वुड बी ओपनली टॉकिंग, इफ नॉट मच एटलीस्ट आपस में तो लोग बात करें. हाँ, तो आपस में भी बात नहीं करते हैं. ओपन प्लेटफॉर्म्स पे तो लाइक इट्स अ डिफरेंट बॉल गेम ऑल टुगेदर, बट लोग आपस में भी घरों में भी डिस्कशन नहीं करते हैं. एंड दैट्स ट्रू फॉर योर डॉटर इन लॉज, योर daughter in laws, whoever. बहुत बड़ा लेबलिंग है, मतलब इफ यू डोंट कंसीव इन अ सर्टेन इयर्स ऑफ योर मैरिज. ये हमें, मैं लगेगा आपको कि शायद आई एम टॉकिंग ऑफ अ डिफरेंट वर्ल्ड, बट दिस इज ट्रू. आई एम टॉकिंग फ्रॉम पर्सनल एग्जांपल्स दैट आई हैव. People, labeling will never stop. Cancer or no cancer, that labeling is deep rooted, and it will somehow come in one way or the other. So I think अगर हम खुद responsibility ले लें that we don't draw boundaries and we stand up for our own selves, I think that would also help. That would, I think, majorly help. हमें खुद ही थोड़ा भाई कि शांति है, हम सही हैं, हमें कुछ नहीं हुआ है, you know, things like that. अगर कोई बोले कि there is a problem with you, कि no, there is not a problem with you. All I tried to was save myself. I'm human, and that's what all matters. Right?
Exactly, ma'am. I agree. And
Yeah.
also, ma'am, you went through the tough journey of cancer, and you also battled surgical menopause. Like, what would your advice be to like young women who might be going through the same things, who might feel disillusioned or without any guidance or advice?
Right. So, Shrishti, I think given the environment that we are living in today, everybody circles back to Purana Zamana, where females were more, I'm talking in a very friendly tone here, but everybody generally refers to the Purana Zamana, where females were more active and वो तो घर में चटनी बनाते थे, and वो तो झाड़ू लगाते थे, stuff like that. So we aren't being practical about the current situation where females have working jobs, and sitting jobs. Of course, we have helps in the house, और बहुत technology भी आ चुकी है, so हमारी physical activity is somewhere, ठीक है, कम हो गई है, so that is causing conditions like hormonal imbalances or PCOS, for example. तो आजकल की जनरेशन को बहुत ब्लेम कर दिया जाता है कि तुम तो बस आधार के बैठे हुए हो यहाँ पे, कुछ चलो बेटा फिरो, ये करो वो करो, which is true. I am not degrading or I'm not demeaning the importance of physical exercise, but what I'm trying to say is we can't compare it to 200 years ago or 100 years ago when there was a different lifestyle altogether. So to all the females today, I would like to say ki, I know situation is different, but please try to keep yourself active. But अपने hormones का बड़ा ध्यान रखें is what I would like to say. I don't know what is the correct way to go about it, but if possible, एक बार yearly आप अपना थोड़ा hormones का check करा लीजिए, because that is something, because of the additional stress that we have. अभी तो pandemic में everybody is like super stressed and just wanting to run somewhere on the mountains. So hormones is something that we have to be absolutely careful of. Just do your, I think, 6 months or yearly to karo hi, because I think hormonal imbalance was the cause of what caused my condition. So I think बस यही है, थोड़ा खाओ पियो अच्छा यार, ज़्यादा स्ट्रेस मत लो, और पुराना ज़माना चला गया, मतलब we have to be in 2021 and ज़्यादा स्ट्रेस मत लो, मतलब just be proactive. अब जितना आप रीड कर सकते हो, मतलब in your capacity, डॉक्टर नहीं बनना, like my doctor says कि तुम ही डॉक्टर बन जाओ, like आप ही डिग्री ले लो, सब कुछ तो आपने पढ़ लिया. So we don't have to get to that point, but एक बेसिक अपनी एनाटॉमी को समझना कि हमारे साथ क्या इश्यूज हो सकते हैं, हम क्या खा रहे हैं पी रहे हैं, थोड़ा सा इस चीज का ध्यान रखें. एंड कुछ सिम्टम्स हैं तो प्लीज बैठे मत रहें उस पर मेरी तरह 1 साल, एंड जस्ट गो गेट योरसेल्फ चेक. या
Thank you so much, ma'am. I would like to pass the mic over to Udita.
Purita, hi.
Hello, ma'am. Ellison A quoted, and I say, scars may heal, blood counts may normalize, years may pass, but never again will the simple act of waking up to a normal, boring day as a healthy individual be taken for granted nor go unappreciated. As we approach the end of this session, I would like to thank Prakshi ma'am on the behalf of all the Girl Up clubs present here. It takes a lot of courage to share your personal experience, and we are grateful for the time and efforts you took to share your thoughts and experiences with us.
It's an absolute pleasure, guys. I am honored and I'm really, really happy that I've connected with you all, and I will continue to stay in touch. Let's just change the narrative. Let's be better humans and just awesome humans, not just females with some ailments. We are more than that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you